Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be my ex's caretaker? Original post. I'm making this post to show my ex later, because I don't feel like I'm in the wrong here. But I'm close to the situation and I'm always open to new opinions. My ex up and abandoned our family several years back to live his truth. Not saying what his truth is. Past that, it involved a lot of random unprotected sex. That was way more important to him than our 3 children. He did not pay child support. He didn't even acknowledge the children most of the time. He worked under the table and did OF to make sure that he didn't have to support the children that he helped create. Needless to say, our 2 eldest hate him, and our youngest doesn't even remember him. He reached out to me recently to tell me that the karma train had run him over. He has acquired a terminal STI from his time as the community chew toy. He showed me proof of his diagnosis. Now he wants to come home, spend what time he has left with the children, and he wants me to be there when he passes on. Now isn't the time for I told you so's, he says. I think that he's being ridiculous. With new medication, you can live a long time with that diagnosis. Besides, why should it fall on the children and me to sweep up another mess that he made? He thinks that the children will regret not getting to spend time with him while there's time to be had. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. He literally abandoned you and his children and never gave it a second thought. Now that he is dying, he needs something from you. I hope you do not give it to him, not the a-hole. Having been the caregiver for a man I deeply loved, I beg you not to do this. It was an extremely difficult, long drawn-out time for me, my adult children and their families. And he had been a caring husband and father that gave his all to the family. This will destroy your life and that of your children. You do not owe him anything. There are public services that can help take care of him. He chose to live his life without his family, so now he gets to live his life without his family. If you want to know what it is truly like to be the caregiver of a terminally ill patient, DM me. I have a lot of information to share. You can also join one of the caregivers' support groups and read the misery many of these families experience. I liked AARP Caregivers. They are a support group that lets members exchange information and vent. Rather than asking this question to Reddit, ask this same question to the experienced members of one of these groups. He knows that I just had an in-home health aide job and after 4.5 years, because my client became too ill. Caretaker burnout is real and I'm so sorry that you had to endure that. OP, you're not obligated to do anything for him when he's the one who has to accept that his family, which is the abandoned wife and children, is not there any longer. You're also not obligated to babysit his feelings either. Just block him on all social media platforms, and if he tries to show up, then he can get his butt arrested by the cops. It's too late for him to come back when he refused to acknowledge the damage he's done to everyone. No, you are not the a-hole. Have you heard the saying, you reap what you sow? This is a perfect example of that. Not everyone deserves a second chance. Protect your children. He who plays stupid games will definitely win stupid prizes. Now for the update. I talked to the 2 older kids. I told them that Dad was sick and wanted to reconnect. Our eldest laughed and said she thought he deserved it. Our middle child said that she doesn't want to speak to him. Our youngest was 1 when he bounced, so he's just a concept to her anyway. Yeah, not bringing him back around the kids without a court order. I didn't send him the post, but he's already called this morning yelling about it, so someone did. He claims that there's a secondary health issue that the HIV will make worse, so he will need help. Also, he's claiming that HIV automatically qualifies you for supplemental security income. And he's going that route and he won't be a financial burden. Well, he won't be anyway because I'm not letting him in. I agree with those of you who said that he's probably lying, gaslighting, or exaggerating, but he is a heavy smoker, so who knows. Thanks to everyone who commented. There was a lot of helpful information. Last edit, because a lot of you called this, I told my ex that I wasn't going to force the children to have anything to do with him. His response was, fine, I still need you though. I wish that I could figure out a way to attach a screenshot because my flabbers are gasted at the open audacity. He lives a state over and currently doesn't have a car, so he should be fairly safe. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my mother-in-law for treating my children different than her other grandchild? My husband, 46, has always been treated differently than his half-brothers by both his mom and stepdad. The relationship between his mother and him has always been confrontational, and they have cut each other off lots of times in the past 2 decades. I've always stayed out of it, even though I think it is very toxic, supported him, and just gone along with the flow until recently. We have 4 children ages 19 to 13, and my mother-in-law has always been a hands-off, I won't babysit kind of grandma, which is fine, they are our children. But then his brother had a baby, and all of a sudden it's the most wonderful thing to be a grandma. She babysits this grandchild full-time so both parents can work full-time. He's 5 now, cleans their house, and brags about him non-stop. Normal grandma's tough, but she doesn't even know our children's birthdays. About 6 months ago, they cut each other off again, and during the fight between them, my mother-in-law said she's so sick of me posting pictures on Instagram of our children, bragging about all their accomplishments, graduation, sports, vacations, and how we think we are better than everyone else because we have neurotypical children and money. The other grandchild is autistic and we are both teachers. We aren't rich. A few weeks ago, my husband forgave her, I guess, and they started talking again like everything is normal. He told me that we are all going to go over to her house tomorrow for a barbecue, and I told him I'm not going and will not be in the future. I told him I don't care if he invites her to birthday parties or graduations, and I'll be cordial, but I'm not going to have a relationship with her anymore. He's mad and told me I'm being selfish and toxic, that I should forgive and move on and be a good example, or our children won't forgive us in the future if we make mistakes. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your husband is putting his toxic mother before his children. You think they never noticed they are unloved by comparison? That's bad parenting 101. I guess this is why it's the hardest for me, because my teenagers do notice now, and have made several comments to me about how weird it is that she treats their cousin so differently. My husband is a very good father and tries his hardest to work through generational trauma, but it's not a light switch. You can't just turn it off. Honey, you need to stop making excuses for your man. Reread what you just typed. He is allowing his children to feel like and be treated like they and their feelings don't matter. Like they're less than. Not a good feeling, by the way. Your children deserve to be loved and cared for unconditionally by family. It is really sad that your children's father doesn't have their backs and go no contact with his witch of a mother. As a mom, this is the hill I would die on. Your kids are old enough to know what's going on. They don't know what she said about me posting and bragging, but they do see for themselves how she treats my husband and them differently and have made several comments over the years about it. When I was 4, our family moved into a house that was directly next door to the house where my dad's mom and stepdad lived. Directly next door. When I was 5, she decided to do a big Christmas Eve party with all my dad's siblings, 7 of them, plus their wives and kids. It came the time when she was handing out gifts to all the kids. Every kid got a gift except myself and my 2 sisters. When my mom asked where the gifts for us were, she didn't look ashamed and said, "Well, I forgot Bill had kids, so I didn't get them anything." We were devastated and our family left immediately. I am now 70 and still remember that night and the rejection from my grandmother very clearly. Don't allow your husband to think that this blatant rejection won't hurt your kids. It will shape relationships for the rest of their lives. You're a great mom for protecting your kids. Now for the update. First time posting on Reddit, so not sure this is how you update, but here it is. Thank you to everyone that commented, especially those who shared their own grandparent stories. Just FYI, over the past 5 years the children, mostly the older 2, because the twins never don't want to see their cousin, have had a choice whether or not they go over to mother-in-law when we do go, and I have had several conversations with them about their feelings surrounding it. Up until 6 months ago, it was behavior and favoritism, and things we had to infer from the difference in treatment. When she verbalized what I knew all along, that's when it just became black and white for me, and I thought until a few weeks ago the same for my husband. My children are very open with me about their thoughts and feelings in general. Usually my husband as well, but surrounding the mother-in-law issues, they were not being open with him. I spoke to my two oldest. I will never tell them what my mother-in-law said about posting on social media, and did indeed block her on social media, and her phone number as well 6 months ago, about how I am setting a boundary and not continuing a relationship with her ever again. I told them about my thoughts and feelings surrounding the whole situation and how enough is enough. I also did apologize to them about not making a stance earlier. Both the older children haven't seen her in over a year, since my daughter graduated, and said they weren't comfortable seeing her at all unless I'm there. I had a separate talk with my 13-year-old twins, but it was just basically a more age-appropriate version of the first talk. I know they are teenagers, but they are still in the in-between age and a little immature, in a good way. They mostly just wanted to see their cousin. They like to play with him, but he comes over to our house once a month when his mom and I have brunch, and they said it's better over at our house to play anyway. They both decided they didn't want to go without me either, and told me life has been more chill without her, which didn't surprise me or my husband, which is why I think he got so upset when I told him I wasn't going. With all that being said, I think it made me realize, and some of your comments, that there are bigger issues that are being caused by this very toxic part of our life and my husband's childhood trauma. When I spoke to him after I talked to the kids, I told him I was making an appointment for family therapy to get an unbiased opinion about our family dynamic, not just including this issue, but just in general, because now I'm concerned about deeper issues that maybe I'm just not seeing and blaming on this one part. My husband was very upset with me and said he would just go by himself and that he doesn't think we need therapy. He reads self-help books to deal with his trauma and has for a very long time. So he's not oblivious to the issues, just thinks he can take care of it himself. I told him he could come to therapy or not, but I was going to set the appointment up and the kids and I were going to go. He spoke to them last night at the dinner table, and all of them basically told him they didn't want to go over there and think life has been calmer without her. He just told them, "Okay, let me know if you change your mind, and I'm sorry she's been unfair to you in the past." People that grow up with dysfunction and instability sometimes have a hard time recognizing it or gauging how bad it really is. They get so used to it that they don't see it as a problem. I don't think the husband doesn't see the problem. I think he's deluding himself on how well he's handling it and the impact of it. For him to admit now that the kids need to be protected from his mom means that he should have a lot of questions about his childhood and his own parenting. It'd be confronting AF. That said, he's a coward to not do that work for his kids. My one grandma favored my cousins over us a little. My other grandma did not like 2 out of 3 of us and would introduce my sisters and me as the one I love and the other 2. I cut her off, and my dad kept trying to get me to go over and beg for her forgiveness and approval because she had hella money. But she wrote me out of her will years before that, so I did not speak to her for the last 5 years of her life. It was nice. Last story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my cousin's wedding? I'm going to try to keep this brief because I genuinely feel like I'm being gaslit by everyone, but also maybe I'm not seeing my own role in this situation. In uni, I had a very brief sort of relationship with a guy on my course. I ended it because I felt like I needed to learn independence. I've never lived on my own. My mom and dad coddled me and paid for my expenses, cooked for me, did my laundry, etc. He was looking to settle down and I really wasn't. I wanted to learn to be on my own for a bit, and he wanted to marry someone he could take care of. We went our separate ways, finished uni, got jobs, etc. My cousin got married the other day. This guy I was previously talking to attended with his wife. She also attended our uni and was on the same course. I wasn't really fussed by seeing them. They've clearly moved on, and I'm loving life right now, having that independence I've been wanting. It was all chill until his wife came up to our table. She asked me why she didn't see me at graduation. For context, I didn't attend our graduation ceremony because both my grandmothers had passed away and it was their funeral. I didn't really care about missing graduation because I've got horrible social anxiety anyway, and the thought of being seen by that many people freaked me out. She asked about my career. I told her that I'm in teaching now and I love it. Small pleasantries, you get it. But she randomly veered the conversation in a different direction. She's like, my husband doesn't care about you anymore. I wasn't bothered at all because over the few years since we were together, I started to see just how toxic he was. He was controlling, and he wanted me to ask his permission before seeing my own friends. I was not looking to start an argument at my cousin's wedding, so I walked away from them and sat at my other cousin's table. I don't know how, but she found me again at some other point of the reception, and it got weird. She was saying things like, "You're so jealous of us. You skipped graduation because you didn't want to see us together." I didn't even know they were together. I didn't bother explaining myself. It would have been pointless as she'd already made up her mind about me. I just nodded along as she ranted to me. But as you'd expect, it started to take attention away from the wedding. I decided it would probably be best to go home, so I gave my gifts and left. But my cousin messaged me a few days later, angry at me for starting fights at the wedding. I told her I wasn't looking for any fights, and that girl had approached me every single time. But she told me it was my fault for leading him on in the first place. I explained it was a very long time ago. I was only 19 at the time, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, let alone commit to marrying a guy. Am I being dumb, or is this actually my fault? Did I ruin the wedding? There's more I want to include, but this post is limited. You didn't start the fight and you left so it wouldn't cause commotion at the wedding. Not the a-hole. Is your cousin friends with the other girl? Because it seems like she's taking sides when she should be mad at the other girl for starting a fight at her wedding. Yeah, they're friends, but I didn't know that until after the wedding. This is the actual problem here. The very unhappy person that harassed you at your cousin's wedding is simply making waves. She, the friend of your cousin, is most likely a miserable person that only finds joy in upheaval. Things that offend her, drama, negativity. When it does not present organically, she manufactures it. I'm sorry that your cousin has been roped into this. Please let it go and continue to focus your gratitude on the wonderful life you've cultivated for yourself. That alone is a truly beautiful thing. Not the a-hole. What is wrong with these people? I'd be very firm with everyone who had something to say. I attended my cousin's wedding, and my ex's new wife behaved like an unhinged lunatic following me around. It became so uncomfortable I had to leave because she was causing a scene. I have nothing to apologize for. I did point this out to my cousin, but she's still upset with me and says I probably should not have attended. But I didn't even know they were going to attend, or that they were even married. So your cousin thinks that you, an actual relative, should have been the one to not attend? Wow, that's crazy. You were in the right and should not be held accountable for another person's insecurities.